guys, so welcome to another episode of Diary of a Real Girl. So today I want to talk about a little bit of a revelation that I had, and it's based on Matthew chapter 9 and verse 8. And it says, "And the people marveled at the glory of God, because this authority had been given unto men." And what I was really talking about was a story when the man's friends brought him to Jesus to be healed. And Jesus said, I forgive you. Your sins are forgiven. And the scribes then started to kick up a fuss because they was like, "This is blasphemy. How mean you forgive sins?" And Jesus was like, "Well, is it easier to say I forgive you or get up and walk?" So I think it might be easier to say I forgive you, but in their minds it was easier to say get up and walk than it was to say I forgive you. And that is true for all of us. It's so hard for us to forgive. Now I remember talking about in one of my previous videos how bitterness and unforgiveness manifests itself on your body, and I have a real testimony of that being true. I remember for so long I had carried so much unforgiveness towards my mother. People would not even think so, because when people saw us, they saw a really close relationship, and that's what it had become after my healing, not prior to my healing. God had to literally settle. I had a dream. I had a year of preparation where this whole dream played out, where I encountered this lady called Dr. B at a seminar, and how it all worked out was just divinely orchestrated by God. And she taught us about forgiveness, and from the time I was able to forgive my mother, no, we had a real strained relationship from the time I was young, and most of that strain came because of things that I was told about my mother when I was younger. I didn't always live with my mom. My mother and my father were divorced, and my grandmother pinned a lot of negative things in my mind about my mother. And because I shifted living with my dad more so with my mom then when I was 11, obviously all the things that have been planted in my mind concerning my mother, not truly knowing my mother or anything, it created a negative relationship between us. And so therefore from then on we had a really strained relationship, to physical fights, quarrels, loud shouting at one another. And so there was a lot of tension, a lot of hatred, a lot of things that were built up over time. And it wasn't until I encountered Christ and had that encounter with forgiveness and understanding that I had the power to forgive. When I forgave her, I literally lost weight on the scale. I mean, when I went home after that encounter, I was literally 5 pounds lighter. And so therefore forgiveness is key to weight loss, because when we carry bitterness, it really truly manifests itself on our physical body. And one of the things that struck me about that verse that I read was that it said that God had given that authority and power to men. We have the power and authority to forgive. It is a gift. It is an ability that we have that we must tap into. I know many times when people hurt us, we say, "Oh, how you expect me to forgive he? I can't forgive this. This is unforgivable." But yet we still want forgiveness. We too hurt people. We too mess up. And if we want to, we could continue being judged. You see, forgiveness is a legal term. It means to give pardon, leniency, mercy. Everything that regards to legal pardoning of a sin or a crime is what forgiveness truly is. And even though we would want to harp on and hold on to our hurt and hold on to unforgiveness, If we sit as judge against anyone in our hearts, then we too will be judged with the same measure that we are judging someone, the person who has hurt us. And therefore, if you don't want to be judged and you want forgiveness as well for some of the real big mess ups that you as well have made, then you need to learn to forgive. It's not easy. It's not by any means easy. It was not an easy process. But God took me through a process and it took a whole year of unpacking and me writing and journaling and writing down how I felt, the things that I thought, what I experienced. And after that, then he taught me what forgiveness truly was. And we hear it so many times. I mean, it has become cliche that forgiveness is not for the person. Forgiveness is truly for you. And that is so real. And I mean, in my experience, when I forgave my mom and I lost that weight, it wasn't even just that I lost weight, but she was pardoned. And even in the story with the paralytic that the friends had brought, it wasn't just their faith, it was the fact that he was forgiven of his sin. And being forgiven of our sin releases us. It allowed him to be able to be free to walk. He was no longer lame. We have made unforgiveness, we have caused unforgiveness to make us lame. I remember, as I said, I lost weight, but it wasn't just that. It was that my mother also began to lose weight as well, because she was pardoned. Her sins were forgiven. We have the authority to forgive sin, and we must use our authority if we want to change our bodies, heal our souls, and we want to move on from the past. We cannot let the past anchor us anymore. So I challenge you to find those people who have severely hurt you, who have broken you a little bit, who chip you a little bit. And I challenge you to learn to forgive. Trust me, it will benefit you in the end more than you even know. Thank you. This was another episode of Diary of a Real Girl. I hope that I've challenged you to forgive.